These are interior RGB lights. They go in the footwell of your car, in the front and the back, and they can be controlled by this remote. Now, there's sort of 2 or 3 ways you can connect this to your car. So, the kit itself, it normally comes with one of these. It's literally something you plug into your cigarette lighter. Some other kits, you can plug it in with a USB. I tried to experiment with a USB, but I wasn't given the right cord, so it didn't work. Another way to do it is to tap into your cigarette lighter adapter. Now, it's different in every car, but I haven't seen one being done in a Volkswagen Golf before. My car is Volkswagen Golf, so that's what this video is going to be about. Now, what you'll need for this install are the LED lights. It comes with the remote. These are normally 11 to 12 pounds on Amazon or eBay, and it comes with everything you'll need to put it into your car. You'll need a blade or a knife to splice into the wires. You know, this is just a normal, typical blade. Any will do. A kitchen knife would do as long as it's sharp enough, but you need one of those. Electrical tape, you need that to cover up the wires, and you can use a soldering iron, which will make it a bit cleaner, but if you just want it the quick way in, you could use a bit of electric tape and it'll do the job. A toolbox, like this one, that's going to come very helpful, mainly because of bits like this. That's a T20 bit. It's different for every car, but for mine, most of the trim is held together with that, so I'm going to need that to take it off. You could also use the flathead bit to pry off bits, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend getting a trim removal tool. That's a lot cleaner and a lot safer. And finally, your car keys. Let's go. Now, the reason why I'm not going to use the cigarette lighter is because of this. Now, this, as some of you might know, is a Bluetooth transmitter for the radio. My car doesn't have an aux, so I don't really want to sacrifice that for LEDs. So the alternative is to tap into the wire that goes into that 12-volt cigarette lighter and just wire it in. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, the first thing you want to do before starting this project is disconnecting the battery. That's obviously because with the electricity that's going through here, you don't want to risk, getting electrocuted or fusing something. Can be bad for your car, and you don't want to be putting yourself in harm's way. Obviously, you don't put the key in the ignition, so it reduces the risks of that. But just as a second precaution, disconnect the battery. So my battery is connected with a 10mm socket. Just gonna open the bonnet latch. You can mainly just get rid of the positive, and that should do it. Let me just wrap it around. Should be enough. Be careful when touching this, it can spark up. Just put it on the side, just put that there, close the bonnet, don't close it all the way. Now, to check that you've done it right, you can grab the key and see if anything comes up. Nothing. So the battery has been disconnected, but just says safekeeping. Don't try anything for the first 5-10 minutes, just to let everything discharge. So while you're waiting for that, what you want to do next is remove the trim around that, so you can access the 12-volt adapter bit there. So start off in my car. So start off by getting rid of the shifter. So what I've done instead actually is grab a trim removal tool, and I've worked around the edge of this and pried it up. Now once you get one corner like this and you manage to make it lift up, this is enough to put just a bit of my finger in there. It should be a lot easier to pry the rest of it out. So literally just put it in, lift it up like that, just work around the corner, and you should see it just pop up just like that. So now your shifter, this bit should be up, and you can just lift it up like that and put that out of the way. And what you need to do next is access these two, I think they're T15 screws. What you can do is just shift it out of the way, and I'll grab the screw and start taking it off. So it was actually a T20 bit, so we can just start by unscrewing it just like that. So I've unscrewed them, just keep hold of the screws. I'm going to put them up here, the little tray there. Now this should literally just slide up like that. Just close that. Now if you look here, do you see the wires there? You're going to be splicing into that to actually get hold of the wires, and then literally just tap into that for power. This is the ESP light. Not every car has this, but if you have something in the way, just be careful not to get into the way of that. Literally just cut the red wire and the brown wire. Those are the two you want to cut. But before that, you're going to want to get the wires and push it in the right way. I'll show you what I mean by that. These are the LEDs. There's a ton of wires, and it all comes down to this. This is the actual RGB controller box. This is ultimately the thing that the remote will work with. So if you want to change colors, it all comes down to this. It comes with a little infrared sensor here, this thing. You want this to be out, like literally out in the open, so you can get the remote and trigger it to change colors. Now, since the wire is so long, there's two that goes into the front, one in the driver's side footwell, one in the passenger side footwell, and the longer wires, now they go to the back for the passenger side and driver's side rear seats. It's up to you where you want to put them, to be honest, but I'm just going to go arrange where I want them, and then I'll be right back. So it took me probably a bit over an hour to route all the wires. So what I actually ended up doing was taking off this entire bit itself, and if you look down here, let's remove that, I can make a gap here, and that's where I fed through the wire. And I did it with one wire there, and I've actually tucked it in all the way here. You can see a bit of it sticking out here. You can literally just tuck it in with your hand, and it should stick in there. But I did it on the other side as well. One wire just there, and the other wire I've just stuck down here. Now what I've done additionally, if you look on the back of these, I just leave that here, there's a bit of 3M tape. Now I don't think this is real, I can't really say for sure, but I don't know if this is going to be strong enough to stick on for a long time. So what I did as an additional support was I stuck on zip ties. So if you look up here, I have a zip tie there, should have another one there, so one there, one there. And on my particular car, there wasn't really a proper place to stick these zip ties, so I just cut a little slot and I fed through the zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie them onto the body of them. Down here, what I've done, there's a little rail on the seat, just up there. I've had the zip tie through there. I can't really find another access point where I can get another zip tie in. So I'm just going to use a combination of both the tape and the zip tie, and it should last a while on there. Now what I've done, if I move the seat forward. So after moving the seat forward, what I did was I ran the wire across the rail. So if you look here, you can't really tell, but the wire, I fed through this little gap from there and around in through here. And I've actually fed it inside of this bit just in there. So that way, when I move the seat forward and backwards, it doesn't interfere with the wire. So now I can get on with splicing into the power. So what they come with is this. This is just a AC power plug, like the pin. Normally they come with this little car adapter, but for whatever reason I was given two of them. So what I did was I literally just cut it down here, just cut that bit off, and once I cut that off, it exposes the wires like that. Well, I exposed them by stripping the wires, just like that. I just stripped the wires off, so there's a bit of copper wires exposed, so I can tap it into there. So leaving this bit on its own, that's the bit that plugs in into here, just over there. And what you'd want to do, once you've opened it like that, just twist the ends of these wires so that way it isn't out like that. You want it to be a bit clean, so you can just twist it onto there. So this is the power pin bit that goes into the cigarette lighter. If you look here, the wires are actually tied together with this bit of fabric tape. This is so that the wires don't split out and it gets a bit messy. What you'll need to actually do is to unravel this, because you want the connection to be a bit down, so that way if you do mess up and cut out the wrong wire or something, it's just a lot easier to fix it up, opposed to leaving it a bit closer to here where it would be a bit harder to fix. So I'm going to unravel this and make my cuts somewhere around there. Now the wires that you want to cut are going to be the black one, the black and red one here, that's the power, and this brown one here. The brown one's a ground and this one's a power. Now if you look on the actual cable here, there's a black and red one. Obviously the black one here in this case is ground and red one is the power. So once I've cut this, I'll get back. So I've taken off the tape, not completely, but enough so I have a bit of leverage to cut the wires. Now cutting these wires, this is probably the scariest bit of this whole project. Now before doing this, you need to make sure that you're actually willing to do this, because if anything goes wrong, obviously this is at your own risk. I'm not going to be held liable for anything that happens. This video is purely for, well, entertainment and instructional purposes, but do this at your own risk. You can see that the wires here are quite small, typical with cheap stuff. This is a bit fatter because it's a bit more of a powerful unit. There is 12 volts going into this, hence why I unplugged the battery. So I'm just going to cut this, just clean cut, and then I'm going to strip the wires so it exposes the wires, exposes the copper bit, and then I can tap it into it. So I've done it a very unprofessional way, mainly because I don't have the tools, but I've cut the wires enough so that way I could just tangle them in with it on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of electrical tape and just clean it up and just lock it in place. The professional way of doing it is to get wire crimps. So if you get wire crimps and put them on each side, you can crimp both of the power bits together and then attach it to the main bit. that's the most cleanest way to do it, and I will do that once I buy wire crimps. Just as of right now, I can't buy them. So the way forward to do it is to wire crimp them, but if not, this is the ultimate other way to do it. Literally just tangle them together and then just make sure you give it a lot of electric tape to mask it together. So I've finally taped it all together. I've given it a final cover around, even with the tape that's on here originally, just to keep it nice and tidy. I'd recommend using a lot of tape if you're going to be doing it my way, just to stay safe. Thankfully this isn't a part that moves around, so it's not going to come off that easy, but anyways, just use a lot of tape just to be safe. Now this bit is tapped in there. Now this can go into the box, which is just over here. So just plug it in like this. There you go. Now that's all in. You need to just tuck it in. Just gonna, what you probably want to do is just hit this with some double-sided tape just down there, or have it in a place so it doesn't move. And this, I still need to figure out a place to put the infrared sensor. I'm probably gonna have it come down around from one of these sides or something if I can make it reach. But so I've just routed it down here because most of the time I'm like the only one in the car, and if I want to use it on my own, I can just aim the remote here and it should just trigger it from there. So now I can finally put this back and attach all of these. So now that everything's back to where it was, before I screw everything in, I'm just going to reattach the battery and see that it actually worked. So the interior lights are on, that means the battery's connected. Giving it a couple minutes to just, you know, rejuice everything up. Now I'm gonna, we've got a lock. Okay, so you can see that it's worked because the interior lighting has turned on. Now I'm just gonna turn on the engine. Oh shit. Just put it in neutral. So that's on. Once I shut the door, we can see that the interior lights are on. Let me just turn off flash.